Most people believe that hair loss after 60 is permanent, irreversible, and simply the price of aging, but that belief is not supported by biology, and it never has been. What actually happens with age is not that hair follicles die, but that they slowly fall asleep, shrinking, weakening, and producing thinner and finer strands with each growth cycle. Dermatological research shows that even in advanced age, the majority of hair follicles remain alive beneath the scalp, still capable of producing hair if the internal environment supports them. This means the story of hair loss is not about loss, but about neglect at the cellular level. As we age, blood flow to the scalp declines measurably, reducing oxygen delivery to follicles, and studies using laser Doppler imaging have confirmed that thinning scalp regions receive significantly less circulation than areas with healthy hair. At the same time, chronic low-grade inflammation increases with age, a phenomenon scientists call inflammaging, and this silent inflammation disrupts the signaling pathways that tell hair follicles to remain in their growth phase. Research published in dermatology journals has shown that inflammatory markers are consistently elevated in individuals with progressive hair thinning, even when no visible skin disease is present. Add to this the fact that nutrient absorption becomes less efficient after 60, particularly for minerals like zinc and iron that are essential for hair follicle DNA synthesis, and you begin to see the real mechanism behind age-related hair loss. The follicle is not dead, it is undernourished, underoxygenated, and overwhelmed by inflammatory stress. What makes this even more startling is that hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the human body, dividing faster than almost any other cell type, which means they are also among the first tissues to suffer when the body senses scarcity or stress. When the body perceives that resources are limited, it redirects nutrients away from hair toward organs needed for survival, a process confirmed by evolutionary biology. This is why hair thinning is often one of the earliest visible signs of systemic aging and metabolic imbalance. Hormonal signaling also shifts with age, and while hormones are often blamed in isolation, the science shows that hormones only become damaging to hair follicles when protective nutritional and anti-inflammatory systems are weakened. In fact, studies observing scalp biopsies in older adults reveal that follicles exposed to chronic inflammation and poor circulation miniaturize gradually over years, not abruptly, which explains why hair loss feels slow, frustrating, and relentless. But here's the part almost no one talks about. Follicles in the resting phase can be re-stimulated if their environment improves. This is not speculation. It is documented in research on wound healing and stem cell activation, where dormant follicular stem cells were shown to reactivate when inflammation was reduced and blood flow increased. Hair follicles contain their own reservoir of stem cells, and these cells do not disappear with age. They simply become less responsive. When the scalp environment is hostile, these stem cells remain silent. When the environment improves, they begin communicating again. This is why populations that maintain anti-inflammatory diets rich in micronutrients show significantly lower rates of age-related hair thinning, a pattern observed in large epidemiological studies comparing dietary habits across regions. It is also why sudden improvements in nutrition can reduce excessive shedding within weeks, something clinicians regularly observe in patients correcting deficiencies. The shock for many people is learning that hair loss is not a cosmetic issue first, but a vascular and inflammatory issue first. Reduced nitric oxide production with age limits blood vessel flexibility, decreasing nutrient delivery to the scalp, and this has been directly measured in aging populations. Oxidative stress further damages the microcapillaries feeding hair follicles, and oxidative markers are consistently higher in individuals with advanced hair thinning. Yet when antioxidants and anti-inflammatory nutrients are reintroduced, oxidative damage markers decline and follicular activity improves. This is why hair loss is now being studied alongside cardiovascular health, not separately. The scalp is not isolated from the body, it is a mirror of what is happening inside it. What keeps viewers stunned when they first learn this is realizing that many people assume nothing can be done simply because the change is slow and silent. Hair loss does not scream, it whispers. It advances quietly while people blame genetics, age, or fate, never realizing that the biology has been waiting for support. Even more compelling is the fact that stress hormones like cortisol, which rise chronically with age and poor sleep, directly shorten the hair growth cycle, a mechanism proven in both human and animal studies. When cortisol remains elevated, follicles exit the growth phase early, leading to thinning without baldness, a pattern extremely common after 60. This explains why emotional stress, loneliness, and poor sleep often accelerate hair loss in older adults, even when genetics are not severe. The truth is that hair follicles respond to the same signals as the immune system, the vascular system, and the metabolic system. They listen to inflammation, they listen to nutrients, they listen to blood flow, and they listen to stress. When those signals improve, follicles respond, not overnight, not magically, but biologically. The most powerful realization is that aging hair is not a lost cause. It is a delayed response to long-term internal imbalance. This is why interventions that support circulation, reduce inflammation, and restore micronutrients often stabilize hair loss, even when they do not reverse decades of thinning. Science does not promise miracles, but it does promise responsiveness. And responsiveness means potential. The follicles you think are gone are often still there, waiting, quiet, alive beneath the surface. Aging does not erase them, neglect does. And once you understand that hair loss after 60 is not a death sentence for follicles, but a signal from the body, you stop chasing false cures and start supporting biology itself. That shift alone changes everything. Few people ever suspect that something as small as a seed could influence something as personal and emotional as hair loss. Yet, when scientists examine the biology of aging hair, they keep coming back to the same conclusion. Hair follicles do not fail randomly. They fail when the nutrients that protect them quietly disappear. Pumpkin seeds sit at the center of this story because they deliver a rare combination of minerals, fats, and plant compounds that hair follicles rely on to survive aging. Zinc alone makes pumpkin seeds remarkable because zinc is not optional for hair growth, it is required for DNA replication inside the follicle, and without it, the cells responsible for producing hair fibers literally cannot divide properly. Clinical research has repeatedly shown that low zinc levels are associated with increased hair shedding, slower regrowth, and weaker strands, especially in older adults where absorption is already compromised. What makes this especially shocking is that mild zinc deficiency is extremely common after 60, often without obvious symptoms, meaning hair loss may be one of the first visible signs of an invisible nutritional gap. Pumpkin seeds provide zinc in a natural, bioavailable form, and unlike supplements that flood the body all at once, food-based zinc arrives alongside supportive compounds that improve absorption and utilization. But zinc is only the beginning. Pumpkin seeds also contain powerful plant sterols, compounds that have been studied for their role in supporting healthy hormone signaling. Hair follicles are incredibly sensitive to hormonal shifts, and with age, changes in hormone balance can signal follicles to shrink, a process known as miniaturization. Research has shown that certain plant sterols can help moderate excessive signaling that accelerates this shrinking process, not by blocking hormones entirely, but by supporting balance, which is why populations consuming seed-rich diets often show slower progression of age-related hair thinning. The emotional weight of this discovery is heavy, because it means hair loss is not always a genetic destiny, but sometimes a nutritional conversation gone silent. Then there are the fats inside pumpkin seeds, and not just any fats, but anti-inflammatory fatty acids that actively calm the immune signals surrounding hair follicles. Chronic inflammation is one of the most underestimated drivers of hair loss, and scientists now know that even low-grade inflammation can disrupt the hair growth cycle, pushing follicles prematurely into the resting phase. Pumpkin seed fats help counter this process by reducing inflammatory messengers that accumulate with age. This matters because hair follicles exist in a delicate balance, and when inflammation dominates, growth signals are drowned out. What is rarely discussed is that the scalp ages just like the skin on the face, losing elasticity, blood flow, and resilience, and pumpkin seeds support scalp health from the inside, not with cosmetics, but with biology. Another overlooked fact is the role of magnesium found in pumpkin seeds, a mineral involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including those that regulate stress hormones. Elevated stress hormones, particularly cortisol, have been shown to shorten the hair growth phase, and magnesium helps calm the nervous system, indirectly protecting follicles from stress-induced shedding. This creates a powerful chain reaction: lower stress signaling, reduced inflammation, improved blood flow, and a more supportive environment for hair growth. Blood flow itself is another crucial piece of this puzzle because hair follicles are only as strong as the capillaries that feed them. Pumpkin seeds contain arginine, an amino acid that supports nitric oxide production, which helps blood vessels relax and widen. Studies on vascular health show that improved nitric oxide availability enhances microcirculation, and when microcirculation improves, oxygen and nutrients reach the scalp more efficiently. This is not cosmetic theory, it is measurable physiology. Reduced scalp blood flow has been documented in thinning areas compared to non-thinning areas, and restoring circulation is one of the few interventions consistently associated with improved follicle activity. What keeps scientists fascinated is that pumpkin seeds address multiple pathways at once: nutrient supply, inflammation control, hormone signaling, and circulation, rather than targeting a single mechanism in isolation. Hair follicles are complex mini-organs, and they respond best when support comes from multiple directions. This is why food-based approaches often outperform single nutrient solutions. Another striking finding is that pumpkin seeds contain antioxidants that help neutralize oxidative stress, a process that damages follicle cells over time. Oxidative stress increases with age and is directly linked to cellular aging across the body, including the scalp. Elevated oxidative markers have been found in people with advanced hair thinning, suggesting that free radical damage plays a role in follicle decline. Antioxidants from whole foods do not work like isolated pills. They work synergistically, protecting cell membranes, DNA, and mitochondria, the energy centers of follicle cells. When mitochondrial function declines, hair fibers become thinner and weaker, a pattern often seen after 60. Pumpkin seeds quietly support mitochondrial health, which may explain why regular consumption is associated with stronger hair texture over time. The most emotionally powerful part of this science is realizing that the body is not sabotaging hair on purpose, it is prioritizing survival. When nutrients are scarce, the body redirects resources away from hair because hair is not essential for immediate survival. By replenishing key nutrients through foods like pumpkin seeds, you are signaling safety to the body, telling it that resources are available again. That signal alone can shift how the body allocates nutrients. This is why many people notice reduced shedding before they notice new growth, because the body first stops the emergency response. Research on nutritional repletion shows that hair shedding often stabilizes within weeks once deficiencies are corrected, even though visible regrowth takes months. This delay frustrates people, but it is also proof that follicles are responding. Pumpkin seeds do not force hair to grow, they remove the barriers that were preventing it. They support the biology that hair follicles depend on quietly, steadily, without drama. And perhaps the most shocking truth is how simple this intervention is. No invasive procedures, no harsh chemicals, no extreme diets, just a small daily habit that delivers information to your cells. In a world obsessed with instant results, this kind of slow biological repair feels almost radical. But biology has never worked on timelines designed for impatience. Hair follicles listen to consistency, not intensity, and when that consistency comes in the form of nutrients that support repair rather than override it, the response is deeper and more lasting. This is why pumpkin seeds are not a trend. They are a reminder that the body still knows how to maintain hair even with age when it is given the tools to do so. Hair loss after 60 is not always about what is missing from the scalp, but what has been missing from the diet. And sometimes restoring that missing piece begins with something as small, unassuming, and powerful as a seed. Most people searching for answers to hair loss are not failing because they choose the wrong solution. They are failing because they expect biology to behave like technology, fast, instant, and dramatic, when in reality the human body only responds to consistency. Hair follicles are not switches that turn on overnight. They are living systems that respond to repeated signals over time, and science has proven this again and again. Research into hair growth cycles shows that each follicle operates on a timeline measured in weeks and months, not days, which is why quick fixes almost always disappoint. What shocks many people is learning that the average hair follicle spends years in a growth phase and months in a resting phase, meaning any meaningful change must influence multiple cycles before visible results appear. This is why consistency at breakfast matters more than any expensive product used sporadically. When nutrients arrive daily, the follicle receives a steady message that resources are available, and that message changes how the body prioritizes repair. Studies on nutritional consistency reveal that the body does not respond as strongly to occasional nutrient spikes as it does to regular intake, because homeostasis depends on predictable supply. In other words, the body trusts patterns, not promises. This is especially important after 60, when the body becomes more conservative with resource allocation. Aging biology is cautious biology. It protects vital organs first and waits for proof before investing in tissues like hair. That proof comes through repetition. Every consistent breakfast becomes a signal of safety. Scientists studying caloric restriction and nutrient sensing have shown that cells constantly assess whether the environment is stable enough to support growth. Hair follicles are part of that assessment. If nutrients appear inconsistently, follicles stay in a defensive mode. If nutrients appear reliably, follicles slowly shift toward maintenance and repair. This is why people who make small daily dietary changes often see better long-term results than those who follow extreme plans for short periods. The shock is not that hair responds slowly, but that it responds at all after years of neglect. Research on habit-based nutrition shows that small, repeatable changes produce stronger biological adaptations than large, unsustainable ones. A tablespoon of seeds eaten daily may seem insignificant, but from a cellular perspective, it represents a constant stream of building materials. Zinc, magnesium, healthy fats, and antioxidants arriving every morning create a baseline environment that follicles can depend on. Over time, this baseline reduces emergency shedding, a process known as telogen effluvium, which is often triggered by perceived stress or nutrient scarcity. Clinical observations show that when the body senses stability, it stops pushing hairs prematurely into the resting phase. This is why reduced shedding is often the first sign of improvement, not new growth. That moment, when fewer hairs appear on the pillow or in the shower drain, is the body saying it no longer feels under threat. But many people quit right there, disappointed that regrowth has not yet appeared, not realizing they have already crossed the most important biological threshold. Hair regrowth requires follicles to complete a full resting cycle and re-enter growth, a process that can take 3 to 6 months depending on age and health. Studies tracking hair density changes confirm that patience is not motivational advice. It is a biological requirement. The body cannot be rushed without consequences. This is why consistency beats intensity every time. Another shocking fact is that the digestive system itself becomes more efficient with repeated exposure to the same healthy foods. Research on gut adaptation shows that regular consumption of nutrient-dense foods improves enzyme production and mineral absorption over time. This means that the same breakfast eaten daily can become more effective months later than it was on day one. The body learns how to extract more value from familiar foods. This adaptation is lost when diets constantly change. Consistency trains the gut, stabilizes blood sugar, and reduces inflammatory spikes, all of which indirectly protect hair follicles. Blood sugar stability alone plays a larger role in hair health than most people realize. Spikes in blood glucose increase insulin and inflammatory signaling, both of which have been linked to hair thinning. A balanced breakfast that includes healthy fats and minerals helps prevent these spikes, creating a calmer internal environment for follicles. Long-term studies on metabolic health show that stable blood sugar improves circulation and reduces oxidative stress, two factors directly connected to scalp health. What makes this even more powerful is that morning routines carry disproportionate influence over the rest of the day. Circadian rhythm research has shown that what you eat in the morning affects hormonal signaling for hours afterward. A nutrient-rich breakfast sets the tone for cortisol regulation, inflammation control, and energy distribution. This means a simple daily habit can shape the internal environment hair follicles experience all day long. The emotional weight of this realization is heavy because it reframes hair loss from a battle to a conversation. The body is not resisting change, it is waiting for reassurance. Every consistent action whispers that reassurance. The tragedy is that many people abandon supportive habits just before the biology would have responded. Longitudinal studies on behavior change show that most people quit health interventions within weeks, while biological adaptation often requires months. This gap between expectation and reality is where hope is lost. But science shows that those who persist experience stabilization even when dramatic regrowth does not occur. Stabilization matters. Thinning that stops progressing preserves existing hair, which is often more valuable than chasing regrowth that may never fully return. Dermatologists emphasize that preventing further loss is a success, yet this message is rarely heard. Consistency also protects against future insults. Aging does not stop, stress does not disappear, and nutrient demands increase over time. A daily habit creates resilience, not just repair. It prepares follicles for challenges before they arrive. This is why people who maintain simple nutritional routines often weather illness, stress, and aging with less visible hair loss than those who react only after damage occurs. The most powerful truth is that biology rewards commitment, not desperation. Hair follicles do not respond to fear, urgency, or frustration. They respond to safety, stability, and time. A small, repeatable breakfast habit may not feel heroic, but it aligns perfectly with how the body actually works. And that alignment is rare in a world obsessed with shortcuts. When you understand that consistency is not boring but biological, you stop looking for the next solution and start building one. Hair does not need to be forced to grow, it needs permission. That permission is granted slowly, quietly, and repeatedly. And for those willing to give the body what it asks for day after day, the reward is not just healthier hair, but a restored trust in biology itself.